Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I'm Richard Byrne, and this is your blogging Q&A. Ask me anything you want about blogging, whether that's educational blogging, so blogging in your classroom, blogging for school, or that's you want to start a blog to start a blog about your pets or about anything, or you want to start a blog about ed tech. Do what I do. Uh, Whatever your question is about blogging, feel free to ask away. If you're on the YouTube stream, go ahead and put it in the chat there. If you're over here on the Facebook stream, go ahead and put it in the chat right there in Facebook. And I'm more than happy to answer any question that pops up related to blogging. And I have a handful of questions that were sent to me in advance. So I'm going to just grab my handy dandy Microsoft Surface tablet here and read off some of the questions that I have received. Hey, Peter. So Peter's joined. Oh, hello. And all right, so a couple of the questions that folks have asked. Number one, I got two hows. One how came from Bob and one came from Jane, who both asked, how do I get started? Now, I think if you're trying to blog with your students, or your classroom blogging or library or school-based blog, probably the best place to go is to EduBlogs. Go to edublogs.org, edublogs.org, edublogs.org. Probably the best place to get started for a school-based blog for a few reasons. Number one, EduBlogs was designed for schools, explicitly designed for schools. There's features built that you won't find in other free platforms. Number one, as a teacher or a principal or a librarian, you can oversee your students' accounts. Really important. Your students don't have to have email addresses to be a part of your blog. That's a really important thing. EduBlogs also has great customer support, even for their free users. Even their free users can send them an email and get help with your blog. So I would go to EduBlogs, and EduBlogs has great tutorials on how to get started. So that's where I would go if you're trying to get a classroom blog started. Now, if you're trying to get a blog started as a hobby, so let's say it's you want to blog about your pets, or you want to blog about your whatever your hobby is, fly fishing, or you want to start a blog about educational technology. The biggest mistake I made is that I did not start out on WordPress, and it has led to a bunch of problems for me down the road because I've tried to make the transition to WordPress. And Free Tech for Teachers, by the way, still runs on Blogger. I wish it didn't, but it still does. So, if you're doing it for a hobby or anything outside of the school environment, I'd go with WordPress.org and install WordPress.org on a hosting plan. You go to Media Temple, WP Engine, HostGator, Bluehost. There's a bunch of inexpensive online hosting services for WordPress.org, or you can even just use WordPress.com itself to get started, because you're still using the WordPress framework, and you can export your content down the road if you need to. Decide, oh, you know what? I want to move it again. Very easy to move. So that's where I would start. Now, I have a tutorial on how to get started with WordPress.org. If you want to check that out, I'll put it right in the YouTube stream. And for anyone who wants it on the Facebook stream, I'll link it up after the fact. I have a tutorial on how to get started with WordPress.org. All right, so the next question that I have here. What is the best blog provider for school issues? I think I just answered that one. EduBlogs. Love EduBlogs for all school-based blogging activities. If you don't want to use EduBlogs for some reason, another option would be to check out Weebly for Education. Weebly for Education is a good option as well. I really like that one. I've used it for a long time. And if you have some budgets to spend, there are some other options out there, but those are the two free ones that I would start with. Now, a question here from Susie. Susie asks, how do I keep it up? And this is a question that I get a lot. I get this question gosh, it feels like every month somebody asks me a question along these lines of how do you keep the momentum going? How do you keep up? How do you generate blog topics? One of the things that I do, and I should have brought it over earlier, but here it is. I have this notebook, and some of you have seen me share this before, right? Hey, Susie. Oh, you're here. Great. So Susie asked the question. Angie's here. Ideas for blog posts. My notebook is full of ideas for blog posts, and what I do is, here's my latest iteration. I just start by writing out a list of. In this case, I had 13 blog posts. I just spent about 10 minutes while I was drinking coffee at the coffee shop last week, without my computer in front of me, without my laptop open at all, just thinking about some topics and brainstorming my topics. And one of the things I do, and folks who have been following me for a long time may have picked up on this. Jeff Bradbury. Jeff, are you watching today? You here today? No, he's not. But Jeff and I were talking about this last night. Sometimes you don't need to post the entire blog post. Better off to, Susie, take that unfinished blog post, make it a part 1, and then do a part 2. Follow it up later. That unfinished blog post. Okay, so it's not quite finished yet. It's okay. Wrap it up so that it's half of a blog post, and publish it as a part 1, and then do a part 2. Okay? Or do a follow up to an earlier concept. You'll see me do this quite a bit, where I write a blog post, and then the next week I might make a video about it, or the next week I might make a little more detailed post about it. So that's one of the ways that I keep up and keep the momentum going. But really, I always have some ideas in this notebook before I sit down at my laptop. I should say always. 90% of the time, I have ideas in my notebook before I sit down at the laptop. It just makes it so much easier to get that momentum going and then keeping it going. That's one thing I do. I don't spend nearly as much time on social media as I used to. I've scaled way back on the amount of time I spend on social media, and that has really helped me, believe it or not, get more ideas for blog posts. It seems counterintuitive, but what it is I'm not spending time like aimlessly scrolling through social media. I'm actually sitting down and thinking about ideas for blog posts more often. So that's one of the things that I've done recently that's kind of helped. So, Susie, I hope that helps you out. And really think about variations on the blog post. That's the biggest thing. Like, don't think you have to write 800 words for every blog post. It could be 250 words, and then you follow it up the next time with something else. So on a similar note, Luann asked, picking it back up after being off for a few years, and I want to learn from someone I followed for years and know is successful. So you're trying to get the momentum back, right? Oh, good. I'm glad I answered that, Susie. So Luann, you're trying to get that momentum going again, trying to get your voice again or find it again. Really, one of the other things that I do, and this kind of piggybacks on my answer to Susie's question. One of the things that I do is I try to have some things written in advance, so that if I do have a day where I've got nothing new, I've already got something that I can go back to. If you're looking for Luann, if you blogged before and now you're going back to it, go back in your archives and update some of those old ones. Write a new version of something you wrote 3 or 4 years ago. I'm not sure when you stopped. So being off for a few years. So, go back to 2015. A lot of things have changed in 3 years. Update that. Update some of that stuff. That's a good way to get your momentum going again, get your mind fresh again. All right. And, I'm sorry, I'm not probably going to mispronounce this name. Kalichi. Kalichi asked me for ideas to attract audiences. Now, attracting an audience. I never set out with the goal of attracting an audience. It just kind of happened for me. 11 years ago, kind of just started to happen. Now, fast forward a decade, there are times when I am trying to generate a new audience or reach a new audience. And some of the things that I do is I'm always trying to answer questions like this, like today. I'm always trying to give somebody the answer to a question, even if they don't know the answer, even if they don't know that they needed the answer. In other words, every blog post I write, I'm trying to make it helpful for somebody. Now, sometimes that being helpful is directly for somebody who's emailed me, and then I turn that email into a blog post. And other times it's more of a, hey, you didn't even know you needed this yet, but it's going to be helpful. Like on Sunday, I wrote about Today's Meet. A lot of people didn't know that Today's Meet is shutting down this week, this year, in about 6 weeks. Today's Meet is shutting down. June 16th, Today's Meet is shutting down. So a lot of people didn't even know that yet. So I wrote a blog post about that, and in that blog post included alternatives to Today's Meet. So that, it's, again, answering a question you may not even known that you needed the answer to yet. So that's the number one thing I've done to attract an audience, is trying to be helpful, trying to answer questions from readers, or trying to answer questions people don't even know that they needed yet. That's really the biggest thing. Now, if you're looking for some ideas on blog posts, I always say, look at your inbox. What are people asking you about? The other thing you can do, there's a tool out there called keyword.io. I've used it from time to time. Keyword.io, put in a search term. It'll spit out a list of keywords that people search that are related to that. And that might give you some ideas for some blog posts as well. There are a million people out there with all kinds of ideas about social media and how do you attract an audience through social media. Probably the best book I've ever written. I didn't write this. Best book I've ever read about this comes from Guy Kawasaki and Peg Fitzpatrick, The Art of Social Media. If you want to know how to use social media to attract an audience, those two are your people to reach out to or to read. Quick book, short book, all of about 175, 180 pages. 180 pages. Some of it may seem like old hat to some of you. And even if it is old hat, it's a new spin on the old hat. This book is about 3 years old, so it doesn't really get into a whole lot of the Snapchatty stuff, but it does all the other stuff. So, good book. Really good book there. By the way, Guy Kawasaki also gave me some great advice about search engine optimization. Said, guy said, Google hires, I'm paraphrasing, Google hires the smartest engineers in the world, and you're just one person trying to outsmart all of them. Bottom line is, write good blog posts, people will find you. Write good stuff, people will find it. And write it consistently. That's the other big thing. So it doesn't have to be every single day, but it has to be consistent, on a consistent schedule, so that people keep coming back to you. You stay top of mind. That's really what it's about. It's like being consistent. You got to be consistent. You got to be willing to bang your head against the wall a bunch of times too. So, all right. So other questions. Let's see. Gina, I got your question there, and I got one other here. Ziri. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Ziri, and then I'm going to get Gina's question. So Ziri asked, in a world with so many blogs, how do I find my own voice? I sometimes feel like everything is already being said. Yeah, sometimes it has already been said, and that's okay. It is your voice. That's the important thing. It's your spin on what everyone else is saying. I'm going to reference Jeff Bradbury again because we recorded a podcast together last night, and it was a long, free-flowing conversation. It's going to get edited down a bit, but when Jeff and I were talking last night, we're talking about that very idea of Google comes out with an update to Gmail, and every blog under the sun is going to write a story about Gmail and the updates to Gmail. Is it worth it for you to then write about it too? If TechCrunch has written about it and 9 other blogs have written about it in the span of 10 seconds, right? And my feeling is, yeah, it is, because it's your interpretation of the information, your spin on the information, your spin on the idea. And the beauty of the internet is there is a niche and a market for everybody. So you might not like the way that I wrote something. Somebody else probably wrote about the same topic, and they're going to put a slightly different spin on it, different voice on it. Exactly, right? So Susie just chimed in. A lot of blog posts are they come from tech blogs. Well, you're going to put your spin on it for an education market, right? Or let's say every edtech blogger or every education blogger writes about the same topic on one day. Let's pick tomorrow. If tomorrow morning every education blogger had to write about the exact same topic for whatever reason, we're all going to have a slightly different spin on it. So you don't have to. So yeah, everyone's written about it. It's okay. It's okay. It's your spin. It's your interpretation. That's the important thing. Because how you write it might resonate better with somebody else than how I write it, or how Tony writes it, or how Larry writes it, or how Vicky writes it. All right. So Gina asked a question. Oh, great. Thank you, Ms. Lamb One. Not sure what your first name is, but thank you. So Gina, back to your question. My favorite tech tools and strategies to make teaching and learning more customized, preparing student to thrive. Oh, okay. All right. Gotcha. All right. Thank you. So this is a little out of the blogging context, but I'll answer this question anyway. So Gina, I don't know much about your students, so it's a very broad answer, very broad question I'm going to give you here. But I'll say that if you want to give students their own voice, right? I like Flipgrid right now for giving students their own voice so that they can give you feedback, and they can give their classmates feedback. One of my favorites right now. Really anything that allows students to get their hands on STEM learning. Love that. This little Arduino Super Starter Kit, you can buy these from Amazon for like $25, I think this was. Don't quote me on the price. There's all variations of them. I think this one was about $25. All variations of them. But lets kids go in so many different directions. So this little $25 kit, or maybe it was $35 kit, has enough parts in here to do all manner of hands-on programming and coding learning, little robotics. Great little piece. So that's kind of neat. Blogging is a great way to give students their voice and customize the learning for them. Customize, giving you some feedback on what they need. I think that any customization, right, is going to be based on the feedback you're getting from kids. So that's that. All right. Let's see other questions in here. All right. Okay. One other question about the social media piece. And this one came from, this is also from Bob. Bob, are you here? Nope. Okay. I want to answer it anyway, Bob, even though you're not here. So Bob asked about social media graphics. Canva, Canva, Canva.com is going to be probably your easiest tool to use. Lots and lots of pre-made templates that you can just modify. That's a good option. Google Slides can also be a great option for making some social media graphics. Quick little tip about social media graphics, by the way, and you'll pick this up on Facebook if you ever try to do any Facebook advertising. Facebook doesn't like it if you have a lot of text in the middle of your graphic on Facebook. Put up on the top or down the bottom, okay. Prefer it without any text really, but top or bottom, okay. Across the middle, they don't really like it. So interesting little piece there. But again, on that note, if you're looking for some reading about graphic design and social media, Cool Info, the book Cool Infographics. There's also a blog called Cool Infographics by Randy Crum. You can see the name right there. Good book on ideas for how to craft infographics and how to craft graphics in general. That is one tip about blogging for anyone who's trying to build an audience or build recognition. Always include some kind of image in it that's easy to share on social media. Okay. So, Ambreen, yes. So Canva, Canva, canva.com. You could do infographics with it. You could do memes. You could do any kind of graphic you can think of. There's templates in it. So check that out. All right. Okay. And I'm going to just refresh this one more time. If there aren't any more, then we'll call it good. Let me just check. I know that's thrilling when you're just watching me stare at my screen over here. All right. Nope. So that's it. We're going to wrap it up right there. Thanks so much for joining me. If you have any questions about blogging or anything else related to EdTech, send me an email, richard@byrne.media. That's BYRNE.media, richard@byrne.media. And I'm happy to help you out. And check out practicaledtech.com or freetech4teachers.com for all manner of things, blogging, EdTech, and otherwise. Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon or evening or morning, wherever you are. Thanks, Gina.